This session will discuss tech innovations on the horizon and the upcoming technology innovations that can revolutionize music festivals and concerts in the future. Our moderator for the panel discussion is Imran Khan, and he will be joined by panelists SHIPRA VENKATESH, DHANAJAY NAIDU, BECKET TUNDATIL, SACHIT SUBRAMANIAN, Charlie ALBIN, and MANKARAN SINGH. May I please welcome them on the stage? Imran Khan is the founder and director of Reset Live. With a career spanning over 2 decades, Imran has been at the helm of groundbreaking IP such as the Sunburn Music Festival. Internationally, Imran has been a prominent representative for Tomorrowland's IP Unite and more. His extensive portfolio features over 50 concerts, 100 festivals, and numerous shows across the globe. SHIPRA VENKATESH is a production manager specializing in stage and technical production. With over 12 years of experience in the field, she has worked on the biggest music festivals in India and abroad, with artists across multiple genres. Some notable shows include Sunburn Music Festival, Lollapalooza Mumbai, Ed Sheeran's India shows, Byron Adams' India tour, and Sensation White. Currently, she is working as a technical producer with Book My Show Live and as the production manager for A.R. Rahman Live. DHANAJAY NAIDU's journey into VJing started in 2017. By 2019, he ventured into lighting design. In order to combine all his skills, he embraced stage design in 2020. With a focus on house and techno, he designed stages for renowned international IPs like Boiler Room, Awakenings, DGTL, and Circle. His stages have hosted luminaries such as Jeff Mills, Nina Kravis, Carl Cox, Solomon, Richie Houghton, Boris Brasha, and many more. BECKET TUNDATIL is a media artist whose work is a fusion of technology, popular culture, and visual information. BECKET TUNDATIL has been designing lighting professionally since 2001. Today, his designs have enhanced many stages, live events, and television shows like the IFA Awards, the Ambani pre-wedding ceremony in Jamnagar, Lollapalooza, Supersonic, and many more. SACHIT SUBRAMANIAN is the co-founder and CEO of Circle Pro Audio. He is also the co-founder of Circle Pave. Apart from this, he is also on the advisory board for NJSM, India's premium rental company, which has its footprint pan-India. He also has businesses in various industries like healthcare, petroleum, clean energy, and FMCG. Charlie ALBIN came to Meyer Sound after working as a systems engineer for a number of high-profile touring acts, including Ed Sheeran's Mathematics tour. ALBIN has also worked with Judas Priest, Volbeat, Iron Maiden, Jeff Beck, and more. He will be responsible for providing high-quality, responsive, and timely support services to Meyer Sound customers in the UK and globally as required, as well as managing resources spanning tech support, design services, and education. MANKARAN Singh is the technical director and co-owner at Men at Work. There, he handles all the trussing and rigging-related projects. Singh has over 26 years of experience in crafting versatile and secure stages and boasts of a dedicated team of highly qualified engineers and visualizers, backed by an experienced workforce of technicians. May I please have a big round of applause for our panelists and the moderator.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and today we are going to explore some groundbreaking technologies, innovation approaches that are transforming our gigs, music festival, concerts, and entertainment shows. I'm your moderator, Imran, and I had the opportunity to work with most of you over here, and I think it's an amazing group of experts who are here with deep passion for music gigs, and each of them brings a lot of experience over here, and it's going to be a great session, I think. So without losing much time, I think we'll straight dive into the questions and discussion. So yeah, Dan, first question to you. Dan. Stage design often require collaboration between artists, event organizers, technical teams. Can you describe a time when collaboration was key for the success of a project?
Yeah. Hi, Imran. Good morning, and thanks for getting us together for this. We're starting off with my favorite topic, which is collaboration, because collaboration is not an option, but it is the essence of stage design. A stage design is the accumulation of, say, a client who is commissioning it, the teams who have to build it, and also us, like the people who put the concept together and design it. So in order to bring that point home on how we use collaboration at the core of our efforts, I'm going to run through a few shows. And these are the shows at which I think all of us sitting here more or less met at these shows. So it's a good way to get started. So this is the first example. This is a stage that we made for Budweiser in 2020 for Supersonic. This stage also got the sponsorship activation of the year. It was a collaboration between Awakenings from Netherlands and Budweiser, hosted by Supersonic. So there are already 3 entities involved in this project. So how do you synchronize these 3 people, and how do you collaborate with the back-end and front-end teams to make it happen? I'm going to dive into that. So here we have an example of a stage from Awakening. So we can see, so when you do these projects, it's not like they're going to tell you this is how we make our stages. It's up to us to study it, to understand what they do, and then try and replicate that in a way that's new and original. So this is my research into how Awakening stages look like Awakening stages. Next, this is what Budweiser came to us with as their kind of first pitch, like, okay, we want this. Now, how do you take those 2 things and put it together? What we did is we devised a system that has the kind of essence of Awakenings along with lines that are normally visible in the Budweiser logo. So we tried to integrate their theme of straight lines and extreme angles along with the Awakening sense of space and dimension. And we came out with this stage. Now, this is what we do during planning, which is a light plot. This allows the production team to know exactly which fixtures, how many to get, how to place them, where to place them, and what their purpose is. So when they see it on a chart like this, they understand that this is going to be placed here for highlighting the audience, or that is going to be placed there to highlight the artist. So we provide these kind of detailed documentation so that nobody in the team feels left out or is suddenly lost. And this was the end result. As you can see, Bud was very happy because instead of 1 logo that they wanted, they got 1, 2, 3, 4 logos in a more innovative way where you can show it like it's going deep, it's small, it's big. So it gives it a bit more play and it gives it a bit more dimension. Now, we have another example where going on the theme of this is how an artist rider can influence the stage design. In this case, we have an example where the artist had a certain rider which was integrated into the festival and then became a central point for all the other acts that came. So this is a different type of collaboration, not between brands, but between the artist, the stage designer, and of course, all the same stakeholders from before were still involved. So it's like previous conversation plus 1 more variable level of collaboration. So this is the stage. We go back here and show you also. This cube design is what was the artist's tech rider. They had a very special show that made it look completely 3-dimensional. So it was a very simple design, but very high-end content that made it kind of pop. So we liked the idea so much, but we could not change the design every day for the 3-day festival. So we managed to include this cube into our overall stage design and still maintain something. So the top LED cube, yeah. So I'm going to show that. So what we did is we took this cube that they had and then we made it look like literally if it was a full cube, the top part would be kind of floating outwards. And then we continued this motif over the 3 lines. So that way we took something that had come to us, expanded on it, and then kind of made it sing with the rest of the elements. Okay. That is about it for our collaboration bit.
Thanks for the information. And what I love about Dan is the pre-visualization and the kind of detailing you do in Vectorworks. It helps us in the execution in so much well, you know. I mean, with very less designers, we get that kind of detailing. So thanks, Dan, for everything. Also, one more project we did, I think, which was really difficult was the Kreak First Cruise Festival, where we went to create a massive SCAF stage over there, and with so much of guidelines and safety instructions and so on. So that was also really cool, bro. Yes, thanks for the information. And what I love about Dan is the pre-visualization and the kind of detailing you do in Vectorworks. It helps us in the execution in so much well, you know. I mean, with very less designers, we get that kind of detailing. So thanks, Dan, for everything. Also, one more project we did, I think, which was really difficult was the Kreak First Cruise Festival, where we went to create a massive SCAF stage over there, and with so much of guidelines and safety instructions and so on. So that was also really cool, bro. My second question, Dan, to you is how you balance artistic expression, which I think you already, artist expression with technical feasibility of a stage design. So I think that you did with Inelia also. You want to continue something with that point? Or you're
Yeah,
good?
yeah, for sure. We can discuss. I have a few slides, so we can go
Yeah.
through them. So now, till now, we are discussing only technical aspects. We're saying how the collaboration takes place through the technicals as a kind of middle ground. Because somebody wants something, we want to deliver something. So tech is the medium of communication. So if you see these stages, they're completely tech driven. There is no decor, nothing. It is only LED walls and lights. But sometimes we also want to be creative. We also want to do something more artistic. And for this, there's a few projects that, again, we guys have worked on together. So we have this stage, which is the stage for Carl Cox, the tour that happened a year or so ago. And for this, we decided to build a face that was split down the middle with an LED screen. Now, you don't always get to do stuff like this, but you have to kind of collaborate with artists as well as technical people. So it's kind of a mix, like you have to find the golden mix between the physics, that is how large it can be, how it can fit, how well the face looks like a face, because if we make it smaller.
The idea was to put a little art to the technical aspect of the design, and the concept of tearing the face apart for Carl Cox was sounding really cool.
Yeah.
And we produced this in what, 48 hours time. So
Yeah, it was
that
pretty
was
crazy build up. And if you see, we've even put LEDs inside where the eyes should be. So it's again a kind of way to pull the technicals and the artistic elements together. We give the artist a drawing to ensure that, you know, there's a little hole the size of the LED screen that
And
kind
recently,
of goes,
even Tomorrowland created a concept stage for Core, their techno stage. Exactly the same concept of this, where the face was tearing apart, right?
Yeah, so sometimes designs do go around in the industry. Usually we are at the bottom end wherein we are seeing something and kind of imitating it. This was one of the few cases where we were kind of ahead of the curve in trying to attempt this, yeah. So
So that was pretty cool, yeah, for Tomorrowland to take that one, yeah.
And this is another angle. So if you see the stage from different angles, it gives completely different vibes. And yeah, this is how it looks in the days, just so that you all get an idea of how we kind of do little artsy touches, like small things, like, you know,
This
just
is a production photograph, so you see a lot of scabs around, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, can you see these little cables? So these are just like pipes, but when you paint them in the same color and hang them, it starts to become a different object and take on a different form. So this is where we've been trying, the way we've been working, we've been trying to involve more and more artistic components into the kind of technical design realm. And this is a little special thing because this is how we make our dockets. I missed Carl Cox's concert when I was 17, so it was always a big thing for me. And finally, I got to design a stage, and he autographed the stage design. So it was a very proud moment. Thank you for letting me do this.
Dan
show.
was a fan on the dance floor when Carl Cox first played in Goa, and
Yeah.
then he designed a stage after a few years. So
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty cool.
It
bro.
took only about 15, 16 years, but
15
it
years,
happened.
Yeah.
And this is I think one of my last examples for this kind of, on our theme of artistic expression within technical stage design. And there is always room to create more. There's always room. I mean, we never let go of our fundamentals of the tech, like be it lights, LEDs, smoke, whatever, but we always try to bring in extra aspects. So this is a party called Novo, and their theme is based around a spaceman, so an astronaut or any other space creature. So in this case, we chose, this is a space station stage, so they had the astronaut floating. And it's, now that we see it, it's easy to think that, okay, it's an astronaut floating. But when we had to come out with the concept
With an idea, how to
of
use it. Yeah.
how to do it and how to place it and how big and how, and this is integrated perfectly within the space. If you see, there's not even a 1-inch gap between the top of our stage and the ceiling, because indoor spaces come with their own challenges.
Have to be precise, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be super precise. So again, if you see this, and also the artistic aspect, it's not like a 1:1 cut of an astronaut. If you see, the arms are slightly bigger, the torso is slightly shorter. So this cartoonification of an object to make it look surreal is, I think, at the core of this discussion of
Right.
how artistic talent gets involved in technical stages, because if you make it look exactly like an astronaut, it can never look exactly like an astronaut. It always look a little off. So you might as well just make it look a little bit like a cartoon and a little bit more fun. So these are the intricate details that you have to put in to kind of give it that pop. And again, as always, a mandatory technical drawing of what we did, because we always do everything very precisely. You can see we've mapped out the venue, the height, the exact angle at which the astronaut is kind of tilted, and every detail, including where the artist is, where their monitors are, where the VIP stages go. Every speaker that was actually going to be there is actually visible here 1:1. So we do everything 1:1 when it comes to. So if your technicals are strong, that gives you room
Yes.
for artistic exploration. So once you've set everything linearly in that way, it becomes.
And what I love about Dan when he designs, whether it was integration of artistic element with technicals, he'll always think from an audience point of view. So he will not leave the audience. So if you see, everything is very immersive, whether it's the LEDs around the dance floor, there are lights to it, or even a simple fixture like an MI bar, he used it very effectively. So he creates that immersive environment on the dance floor, which is so crucial for a music gig, especially when it's to do with techno. So yeah. So last question, Dan, to you. How the physical structure and visual element of stage design can alter and enhance the audience experience? Exactly what I was talking about.
So we've more or less discussed this point, but I'll kind of just add a few words to it before we move on. So basically, the one thing that I noticed when I started doing stage design is that everything used to come from the front and come towards the audience. But I had a very breakthrough opportunity with DGTL, which is a Dutch festival. And I had a chance to work with a studio that kind of pioneered a different way of thinking about stage design. So their stages wrap around the audiences. There is no central stage element. The stage is spread out 360 degrees around the audience, similar to what you see here, like with the SCAF towers being spread. So the audience member always has something behind, in front, on the side. They're never kind of blasted by everything. And the artists themselves experience the stage in that way. So if you see, the artist is in the center of the action, not all the way back with their back to the wall. So they feel more comfortable to perform. The audience feels more involved. So it creates a circular flow of energy between the audience and the artist. So that's one of the things that we together while working, I think all of us, including SHIPRA and Beck, and all of us, when we work, we kind of design these stages technically in a way to allow that flow of energy between the artists, whether it's a big stage with large screens for IMAX, or whether it's a small stage where the DJ is in the middle and you. So at every scale, we have a kind of playbook to create that immersive experience for the audience, even if they're standing in a large supersonic main stage at the back, or a small banquet hall like this all the way up front.
Yes, and what I like about Dan, when he's running the show also, he will take the control of all the engineers under him. The lasers have to be certain color, it need to come at certain drop, not everybody is playing as and when. So the queuing is very nice, and hence the experience is elevated.
Yeah. It's an integrated art form, so everyone needs to come together, and then we kind of get a...
Yes, my next, Shipra, you'd like to add something? Yes. Okay. Okay, coming to Beck. Beck, my old brother.
Hi, Imran.
Yeah, so Beck and me almost started our careers together back in 2001. And it's been a long journey with him. Did a lot of shows, did a lot of Sunburn gigs with him, Supersonics. He did IFI Awards also, and a lot of good shows and big shows. So Beck, first question to you. Could you share some of your most innovative lighting techniques or technologies you've incorporated in your design recently? How have these enhanced the overall event experience? What kind of software, previous things you use, and so on?
So Imran, I always follow the basics. So if there's a show which requires a plot or doesn't require a plot, I make sure I make a plot. So I've been following this from day one.
Right.
And I think, from there, I've always tried to see how softwares can give that extra touch, to the show. So I've always kept switching between softwares from time to time. just to get that little, a difference in a show. And then it always shows in the output, whether it's a previous software or even if it's a console. So I've always done that. So that's one way how I have looked at switching and keeping innovation going. Yeah. And of late, if you ask me in terms of an innovation, we had executed a remote lighting production about 1.5 years ago, in 2022. It actually happened because of necessity. I was supposed to travel to...
What project was this?
It was for Hum TV Awards.
Oh, okay.
It was a Pakistani
yes,
show.
you told me about it. I was working on Supersonic then.
Yeah, right. Around that time. So that show was supposed to happen in Toronto. And towards the end, I realized that my visa was not coming through.
Okay.
And I had worked on the project for nearly 4 months, from the plotting stage, even connecting with artists and all that. And it was a stage where I could not say that I need to back out. And the client kept asking me, please suggest technically what can we do. And then I gave a thought, and I remember there was a show which happened in I think 2020. Somebody had executed a show in Europe with an MA console, and I'd seen that something like this is possible. So we were just 14 days away from the show. It was a very, very tight time to take a call also. But I just said, let's put a team together, and we connected with the MA Lighting. MA Lighting really broke down things for us to help us. We had Ajay from MA, who came into the project, looked into the technicals. He also tried to get some data from the team, from the Asia head and all. Franco, who's here. Hi, Franco. Yeah, so Franco stepped in. He provided a lot of data. And that's how we put the whole show together. And then we did a bit of time-coded stuff. The show file was created in Mumbai. And we shared the file to Toronto. And we had one engineer who was just monitoring the console. So everything happened from here. We had a Zoom network on an IP line, which was full-time showing us the stage. The setup was monitored 24/7. We were working in the shifts. So we used to come at night and start work while the team steps in there and all that. So yeah,
cool.
That was
so
fun.
So also time code was the next point. Like me and SHIPRA worked with on Amit Trivedi's show design Indradhanush. We did the time code bit with the live band, and the triggering was through the kick drum, if I'm not wrong, right, SHIPRA? Multiple different, yeah, but it was not that to the point. But then again, you did the Australian leg for that show.
Yeah.
So you achieved the time code quite
we
fine.
Did, yes, we did. Actually, even Amit Trivedi and his team is quite cooperative. So a show like this, I didn't know this had happened, until you told me that you all didn't have it going. But yeah, we connected with the team. We put our requirements through. There was again, in timeline wise, it was not great, but yeah, we had a month in hand to program the show. So
cool.
we managed to pull it off.
So my next question to you is how you coordinate your light design with other elements of show, such as LED, sound, art, and the artist performance to create a cohesive experience. So like designing a stage right from the brief you get involved, or you come to a later stage. How do you go about designing a big show, whether it's like the cyberpunk stage you did for Sunburn Goa, or the Flying Castle stage you did for Supersonic Festival, and so on? So how do you go about integrating everything together?
Yeah, so Imran, we do different genres of shows. Like the ones which the names you've taken, they're like the festivals. So whenever something like this is put through, we first of all try to understand the design in detail. Like if Dan is making it, we see that, Dan sends the 3D file. We really study it in depth. And then we make a light plot based on, the vendors available and the kind of gear available. These
yes,
aspects.
There is one light plot of yours behind on the screen.
Yeah,
That's
I remember
Supersonic,
this, yeah.
Cool.
So this was, I think, 2022?
Yeah, this is 2020, I think.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the Flying Castle. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. So,
So pretty cool stage design. Yeah.
yeah. So with festivals, Imran, we do that. We try to we try to get involved little early, as early as possible,
Right.
because then we actually try to understand the show much closely. If it's another artist like an Amit Trivedi, you said, so an artist like that, we try to spend some time in the studios while they're doing rehearsals.
Time could always demand that extra time and
It does, yeah. It
enough
demands,
time to
yeah.
sit in the studio.
Even
and work.
time coding a track
Yes.
takes hours, you know.
Yes.
And also understanding a song, you can't just put it to a sync beat.
Yes.
You need to at least get the feel.
Last year I tried one time coding in your studio, and it was 2 nights job, and we struggled so much, and we didn't got the right beat, so we didn't presented that idea. But yes, you need time for that. Correct. You need time for time code. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now coming to the next segment, we finished lighting and visual and stage design bit. Sound engineering is our next segment. We have around 4 segments now. I would like to first start with Sachit. Sachit will also be my co-moderator. I'd like to welcome Mr. Charlie Albin. Welcome to India, and heard some great reviews about you, about the Ed Sheeran show, and we are here to gain more knowledge from you, sir. So yeah, coming to Sachit. Sachit, I will start with the first question. Could you share some of the most significant challenges you have faced in sound engineering for large venues, and how you have overcome them?
Hi. I'll just, before we get into this, just a
Sure.
quick brief about
Sure, sure.
how I got into audio and how things are going in audio in general. So audio as a concept, if you look at it, has been evolving over the last so many decades. I mean, just the session before this, a gentleman from Acoustics, he was talking about how there's been a development in the overall audio speakers and the way it constitutes to an event in general. So when I got into this industry of audio, things were very different. There was a set of things that had to be done because unlike other segments, of course, Karan's trussing is related to this, but physics gets involved in audio a lot. There's a lot of physics that goes, and you cannot defy laws of physics a lot of times. If something has to happen some way, it has to happen some way. But what happened eventually over the period of time was technology got involved along with physics. And that's when things started to change in general for the audio. So when in 2017 or 2016, 2017 was the time that we at NJSM, we took a very drastic step that we're going to shift all our audio inventory from brand A to brand B. And we said that we want to go with one particular type of brand, not have multiple brands inside, and just stick to that and go ahead. And it was at that time what had happened was, it was a very common notion within the industry that if you have to have a large concert, a large event, or anything large, you need a large box of speakers. Okay, so it was a 15-inch box, which is quite popularly told. Okay, so you need a 15-inch box. You need a large box. Only then it can deliver audio to 6,000 people, 8,000 people, 10,000 people, and so on and so forth and more. It was at that time that there was a Sunburn gig that was happening in Mumbai, Kaigo, and I pushed very hard with the Percept team back in the day, and I told them that I want to do this gig, and we had a small format box. Unlike the larger companies that at that point of time having a larger format box, we had a smaller format box. And I was very, very, very to the point saying that, no, I will achieve it. So that's when what happened was we started putting things down on paper. Okay. So a lot of good audio manufacturers in today's time and age have prediction softwares, So once you get into that zone of prediction, and once you plot everything, like similar to what, Dan and everybody do with their line of business, which is, lighting or which is LED and visuals, you put down and plot down everything. Now with audio, what happens is you get to go one step ahead, and you get to plot exactly as to where your audio is reaching, what is your reach, how much decibels of audio you can kind of achieve with X number of boxes, etc. And this can be kind of simulated within the overall software that we use. So we kind of simulated multiple brands, multiple softwares, multiple different boxes, and I presented it as a presentation to the team, to the event team back in the day. And I said that, you know, the maximum difference that's coming to the last guy standing is 3 dB. Okay, that's it. So he is the last guy, the last row guy is going to hear 3 dB less. Let me do this. And I'm telling you that changed the world for a small format speaker system totally after that day. And we had a beautiful show, a brilliant show. Now, why is that a changing or a time-changing project that I say we did is because if you look at what we are heading towards, the world where we are heading towards is to make sure that we are kind of sustaining ourselves in terms of the events that we are trying to do. Now, if I have to carry 48 boxes of the large format boxes, I'll need 3 trucks or 4 trucks of audio running. But the same thing, if when I'm pulling down my resource size and the footprint, I am saving a lot of money on diesel to begin with. You know, when it comes to trucking and things like that, I'm saving a lot of money on my manpower that's required to unload, load, rig, etc. So you start going into the sustainable way of running an event. So, you know, this is something that we did in 2018, okay, and we are already in 2024 end. So, I mean, now the 2024 season will start. So, the whole thing changes when you start thinking differently and when you start trusting technology. You know, something similar I feel even Charlie, you can add on with the Panthers, because that's something that's going on the same line, you know, a sustainable and a small footprint, and it can create a bang.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the enabling us to do more with less. You know, improving the design of our equipment, our loudspeakers, our amplifiers, making them smaller, lighter, and more efficient, allows you to cover a bigger audience area with a smaller format box. Like I say, it might use less power. It certainly takes up less space in a truck. It might use less manpower to put it up by doing conscientious design when it comes to rigging and rigging systems. But it also enables sort of users and rental companies to have greater flexibility with how they use the product. And no longer might you need to buy 3 different size boxes to do 3 different size shows. What about having one box that is small enough, light enough, and versatile enough to be able to use it for multiple different shows? So that's enabling, you know, rental companies to do more with less as well.
Yes, sustainability is a good initiative which we all should take in our own capacity. Definitely. Coming to you, Charlie. Charlie, could you walk us through the process of designing sound system for major tours like Ed Sheeran Mathematics Tour? What are the key considerations when setting up sound for such large venues?
I think it comes down to really conscientious design in the first instance, using, much like the other parts of our industry, lighting, video, automation, it's using design software to map out what we're doing and understanding what our goals are. I would first want to know for any show, great, well, who's the artist? What's the genre? What does that genre require? Because, you know, a light jazz act might have some different requirements to a full pelt electronic dance music festival. So that's my first consideration. And the second is, well, where are my audience? Where are they stood? How many are there? How far am I trying to cover? Because for me, any person who's come to the show and bought a ticket to see it deserves to get the best experience. So whether you're sat 10 meters from the front of the stage or 110 meters at the very last seat, well, I'm trying to create audio consistency so that everyone can enjoy the show in the same way. And consistency comes in various forms. There's making sure you've got adequate SPL, so it's loud enough to get that feel of the show, but it's maintaining the tonality so that the mix translates from front to back to that first and last audience member in the same way. And it's doing it in a dynamic way. You know, music is a wonderful, wonderful medium that that can be very soft, very loud. It can bring out emotions in us and passion, and being able to translate that dynamism through our work with sound system design is absolutely essential. And if we can do that in using a better sized product, something that's a bit smaller, lighter, more versatile, easier to rig, then we've got the real basis for interesting design and effective design.
I agree with you, and we always say sound is the soul of a music gig. Anything can go wrong but sound.
Yeah. I agree. It is the soul. I mean, but then we're talking about whole show design. You to make the really most effective immersive experience. It's not just sound. It is lighting. It's video. Absolutely. It's automation. It's trying to bring together all those different factors, and if as a collaborative effort to really give the end user the best experience. And
yes. So my next question was, you worked with variety of artists and tours. What are the biggest challenges you face in live sound engineering? How do you address them to ensure the best sound quality to a diverse audience? Especially, it's quite inspiring how Ed Sheeran was there, the 360-degree sound. So right from all the audience to the artist getting the clean monitoring on stage, how do you do that?
Well, clean monitoring on stage. The advent of IEMs has been a huge improvement and a huge help to artists. I think that it enables them to have consistency, and it helps me as a front of house sort of systems engineer to not be polluting my nearest audience members with lots of stage sound. So that's always a win. But trying to keep a clean stage is challenging. There are a couple of sort of tools that I try to use in my sort of mental toolbox. Things like cardioid subwoofer configurations can be very effective at cancelling sound behind the subwoofer arrays on stage, whilst focusing sound out in the audience where it wants to be felt the most. And then also things like using what we know of our line array behavior and the summation of line arrays to steer sound away from the stage where we can. And by that, something, let's say if we've got a long line length, we can control the direction of our sort of low and low-mid energy and more effectively steer it away. So perhaps raise that array up a little higher and tilt it down. So we're covering our audience from an elevated position so they can hear it better. But also that low-mid energy that's coming out the front has its mirror image going out the back, and by being higher and elevated down, our energy at the back is maybe going up in the air, away from the stage, therefore benefiting our artist by keeping a cleaner stage for them to perform. There are others, but that's a couple of good examples.
That's quite fascinating, though. We did Sensation also, but it was more of stacked sound, SHIPRA, if you remember, the Pleasure Dome show. Yeah, it was different. My next question is on the audio technology. With technology constantly evolving, what recent advancements in audio technology have you found most impactful in improving sound quality and system efficiency during live events?
So I think probably the two factors that have been most dramatic in my use is the move in audio networking and probably class digital amplifiers. Amplifier technology has moved on at an incredible rate in the last couple of decades to now enable us to do a lot more power in a much smaller, more efficient footprint. Some of the biggest advances in our power consumption are by having those efficient amplifier platforms and allowing us to do digital alignment and sort of really sophisticated audio processing within the amplifier modules themselves, to really get the most out of the loudspeakers and the drivers. And then now with this advent of audio continuing to push into the digital realm, sort of audio over IP protocols such as Milan AVB, that so we're able to do now. Remain in the digital domain, maintaining our audio signal integrity further into our signal chain, and in some cases all the way into the back of the loudspeaker, as is the case with Panther 2100 subwoofers. So you can really preserve quality right up until the loudspeaker. And those I think those digital technologies are going to continue to push forwards and become the norm in our industry, eliminating some of the artifacts of cable length, cable loss, and signal degradation as you scale up systems. And they do allow for much bigger systems and more complex design. Something like the mathematics tour, or indeed the Metallica M72 tour is another great example, where large-scale distributed systems, particularly in the round where it's so hard to have space to store your technology and route signals around. That move to digital infrastructure means that maybe cables get smaller, lighter, they have less impact on our video and lighting designs, so we can maintain, even improve quality of the visual elements of the show, whilst simultaneously improving the quality of our audio component of the show. So it's really enabling that sophisticated advancement in overall show design, as well as just in our audio portion.
Cool.
I'll just kind of take one step ahead, is that whatever Charlie told right now, our technology has also reached a stage where you can now predict all these things before you even think of that show is going to happen. I mean, the prediction softwares have started getting more and more smarter. So right from your power, right from everything, is now visible right on your prediction softwares. And the best part is multiple manufacturers, including Meyer, DNB, L-Acoustics, all these guys have only kept on improving their prediction softwares more and more. So it's always good to learn that and apply what the manufacturer's workflow is there within an event that happens. I mean, this should be like a standard norm for every good systems engineer, that they go through the workflow of the particular brand of speakers that they're using, and they'll be far more efficient even before we start. I mean,
yeah, I absolutely agree. We're now at a point where the prediction software is a fundamental key part of the decision-making process, because by the time you get to the on-site rigging your speakers, you've really already left it too late to choose, well, what's the right loudspeaker? How do we do the best deployment for our audience? And it's really sophisticated up to the point now where in Meyer Map 3D world, you can not only place your loudspeakers and show the coverage across your frequency spectrum, but you can also do virtual measurements of your venue, let's say, placing microphones, and actually do your system tuning in the virtual world, setting delay times, EQ, and using other parts of the tool set, and then port all of that data straight into your processing when you get to site, saving time. And really, at that point, you're spending your on-site time validating, not starting from the ground and doing measurement per se. It's just verification. So it's really moved an incredibly long way in the last, even the last few years, but going back to probably 20 years ago when we started to see some of these softwares emerging.
Nice. So now we can give you less sound check time, that means.
That is the problem.
That's a very big problem.
But it's more time focusing maybe on the artistic elements, walking the room, making sure we're really delivering the results, and maybe spending more time with the artists allowed to do their sound check time and less on our alignment time.
That's pretty cool, though, and some great insights from you guys. Thank you so much, Charlie and Sachit. Coming to our female panelist, SHIPRA VENKATESH. I had the privilege of mentoring her during the beginning of her career at Sunburn, and quickly she established as one of the finest technical producer and production manager of the country, and we had some awesome events together for years and years, also after leaving Sunburn. So great to have you on board, Ships. Now, SHIPRA, first question to you. Could you share some of the most significant challenges you have encountered while managing technical production for large-scale events?
So, hi everyone, and thanks EMRAN for the intro. One of the most significant challenges that I think all of us have faced when it comes to putting up an event, and especially over the past 10, 12 years since I've been around, has been safety. Safety of structures, as well as the knowledge of safety and like how safety standards need to be applied across the board. Some of the, I'm going to try and...
Can you change the
I think we need
slides?
to switch. So this is an example, like some pictures from maybe 2014, and the kind of SCAF structures we had. It would be a challenge to even get these scaffolds to stand straight. And height was always so limited. We would celebrate if we managed to reach 30 feet, about 10 meters high. It would be like, woohoo, score. So yeah, that would, so from this, like from these kind of structures to where we stand today, there's, yeah. This is the kind of structures that we have today. And this is something that makes me really happy. We've gone from very jugaad scaffolding to scaffolding that makes sense. It's very modular, it's light, it can be drawn out to create consistency in all different types of software, be it AutoCAD or Vectorworks. And it enables us to plan so much better. If you get the load calculations right, you know whether a structure is going to be able to take the kind of load or not. And with people like MANKARAN and Harold and people who really understand structures on your show, designing and planning things, it's almost like today, working with the right people and with the right inventory, you can actually go to sleep at night not stressed out about the safety on site. And honestly, I think that, of course, while we have the inventory, it's really important to apply it correctly. This is also includes a classic example. The photo on the right, you see in the corner the pile of material lying there. That is not how to store equipment or store material. You know, it needs to be, you need to take care of your material. And it's only if one does, will it last longer? Will it serve its purpose? And so it's one thing to invest in inventory, and it's also to invest in training and understanding your inventory, and also in warehouses that are equipped and to handle and maintain the inventory well. Yeah, the picture on the right is how the material was loaded in on a show that MANKARAN and I did together. So kudos, Karan. Yeah, and yeah, the back as well, from going to like really tricky sound scafs, which are barely standing straight, to now like cantilever structures, so neat. That's a real wonderful positive thing that's happened over the past 10 years. So for sure, safety has been a challenge, and things have gotten much better. But yeah, it's just important that all of us constantly keep that in the back of our mind when we're planning anything. Like, if you don't think a structure is safe, don't rig on it. Put your foot down, fight with who you have to, and then, in time, eventually all our shows will be safe.
Yes, I mean, remember the days when layer scaff was not there, ring lock was not in that quantity, and we used to work with cup lock, and MANKARAN was not in this in that connection then, and we used to have nightmares, and we used to have this one crane holding the structure, not moving at all, just for the extra safety. We were happy with the structure, but for extra safety. So yeah, I mean, things have improved. You want to add something more, Ships?
Yeah, because the pictures were a bit scattered. We got to switch again.
Yeah, see now?
Yeah, this is actually something that has happened over the past year. Black steel coming into the country and also being used extensively. What you see, the larger picture, the structure in the center is, I mean, this is from the Ed Sheeran tour. The structure in the center is what came in as a part of the touring package. But the 4 structures that you see on the sides, the towers, those are now available locally. And off these towers, you can rig LED, you can rig sound, you can attach cages and put in follow spots there, you can put in cameras there. So there's so much that you can do with one simple structure which has the least amount of footprint, is not so visually obstructive. So it's really great that today we have access to work with this kind of material.
Nice. That's a good improvement in the industry. I'm going to my second question, SHIPRA, for you. Yeah, can I proceed?
Yeah, I'm just going to
So ensuring seamless execution is crucial for any gig, any big festivals or a concert, especially under tight deadlines and high expectation. What system or processes do you implement to manage and coordinate teams effectively? What is your process?
Okay, so that's a good question. What often tends to happen with a lot of shows that we do is because of budgets and negotiations, we literally go from closure into site with no planning in between. And I think that is where the problem starts. Like if one is going into a site absolutely unplanned, it's going to be chaos. And so I would say that one of the most important things to do is to plan your production. Always be prepared for the worst. There have been so many people, like sometimes I'm just always thinking of worst case scenarios, and which could be a bit irritating, but it's always better to like toe the line of, to be safe and be cautious. So always think of backups, and also preparing really detailed element sheets and inventory lists, having really detailed drawings with the software that we have available that everyone uses for lighting and audio prediction. Similarly, you can also predict and should ideally predict cable routes, barricading, have all of that drawn out. So when you get on site, you just hand over this paper to the execution team and they know exactly what to do. And also following and maintaining and keep constantly checking on a production schedule daily. It involves so many parties coming together and having to deliver. So it's really good to always have a day-wise plan and follow it. And then also, yeah, it's just important to make sure that the more planned you are, the easier it gets on site. That's the key.
Yes, some of the key takeaways, always think on worst case scenarios with backup also at times,
Yeah.
especially to do with sound gen sets, backup and both all running on hot. So yeah, I mean, picking up right team is also so crucial, so right team members for big shows are very important, experienced people. My last question to you, how do you leverage technology to address logistical and technical challenges? Could you provide a specific example where your intervention turned a potential problem into a success?
So this basically also touches upon the video side of things of this session. Over the past year, as you can see this stage, right? This is what we did in 2022 for Sunburn Goa. It's a very LED heavy stage. And the LED is a 3.9 mm, very high resolution, and working out to about 6 to 8 4K outputs, which is a lot of pixels to be able to process. So it's one thing that where one invests in inventory and great inventory, but if one doesn't have the right type of processors, then you don't really tap into that inventory to its full potential. So this was like at Sunburn Goa, and we faced a challenge where we had so much LED and so many pixels, and no touring artist can send more than, say, 3 4K outputs from their server, whereas this was working out to about 6 to 8 4K outs. One great thing that has happened over the past few years within our country is back in the day when you had too many screens and too much pixels to process, everyone would work on and would turn to Watch Out, which with all due respect is a great media server. But when it comes to screen management, if you're going to be routing a signal from a VJ or a visual artist system into a media server to the LED processors, there's a lot of latency that gets added on. And one of the best things that have happened over the past couple of years is the introduction of the Barco E2 systems, which work great for screen management. They're definitely slightly on the higher side in terms of cost, in terms of engineering, programming, and all of it, but I'm sure, like as it keeps, and it's already getting used in quite a few shows over the past years. So with more and more usage, it's going to be pretty standardized. We used it at Sunburn Goa to be able to manage the amount of pixels that you can see, and we were able to give VJs 3 4K outputs and play across all the screens very comfortably. So that is one of the projects where we had a challenge of facing of too many pixels, and how we dealt with that. I'm just trying to see if there's another example of we did the same thing with, no, there's not. Okay, that's fine. So this is one of the shows we did that.
Yes, yeah, I think that design was also pretty cool. Cyberpunk, done by Darkroom New Zealand.
Yeah.
SHIPRA also have a good knack on creativity, which now she don't have much time to do it. But all the initial stage design from 2012 Sunburn to 2015, we together creatively worked on those designs.
Yeah.
Yep. So now coming to my dear friend.
And
yeah,
Imran,
sure.
I'm sorry, I just had to add one last thing before we end this. I really wanted to talk about the importance of, I know Charlie and team have already touched upon this, but the importance of sustainability. One of the things that often gets overlooked when we have technical conversations, when we talk about sound and lighting and video, we don't talk about power enough. And I think that's a really important conversation to be had. Intelligent power consumption, working with batteries, looking at working with alternative fuels. That is something that, as we speak within our country already, with the notifications from so many governments of diesel generators not being allowed, this is a conversation that is the need of the hour, also from an environmental perspective. So yeah, it's great. So one of the pictures here is from one of the shows that we did a few years ago, which was a U2 gig where, because the artist, the touring agency was not sure about the kind of power, stable power sources we have in India, they actually traveled with their own generators. And so we're looking at, I think, 2,000 megawatt generators that were shipped into the country, of which the entire show was powered. This was in 2019. Cut to 2024, where we did the Ed Sheeran show, where all the power was locally sourced. So we have the kind of generators today, we have the kind of syncing technology that really helps creating backups as well as in fuel consumption. So yeah, that is one also a positive step. I mean, where we're heading in the right direction with regard to sustainability.
Yes,
I'll just add to what SHIPRA said right now. So a part of the other projects that I work on is with a lot of power connectors. So if you look at that previous image that SHIPRA showed, those kind of connectors are not available in India few years ago. So, they are called cam locks, or they are called, power locks, which are basically they support up to 400 ampere of power without any leakage, making sure switchovers happen without causing much hazard, etc. Back in the day, generators still used to be tar laga do. Okay. From that tar laga do to we have reached a lot, and we have a lot more to go. And in fact, there are biodiesel gensets that are coming now into the market. So wherein diesel is now going to be already mixed with biodiesel, and it's coming E20 and the norms, the pollution norms, like rightly she said. So these are the things that are coming over and over now. I mean, they're kind of increasing. One of the very interesting projects that we are also working on right now is to charge batteries using solar. So all the microphones battery that, currently even right now that we are using are either Duracells that are thrown after use, or they are standard alkaline rechargeable batteries, So now we are working on projects where, during the day you put up a small flag kind of a thing, and it's charging your batteries through the day, and it's ready during the night for the show. And it doesn't consume a lot of power as such for charging batteries. So these are technological advancements that are coming now. And, we are working very hard to make sure that sustainability and the European norms of 2030, and India has taken up 2047 to be carbon neutral. So how can we as an industry be a part of it is something that everybody, and specifically with large concerts and events, we do spend a lot of carbon that goes out of our hands. So, how do you address that is a very important issue. So, I mean, that's something that's going good. People are thinking about it. That itself is a big thing now.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, sustainability, we all have to take the initiative. Even Beckett was mentioning how he's pushing clients and promoters to use more of LED fixtures and so on. And I hope Genset goes full electric soon, so we don't have the diesel component at all. Okay, now coming to our next panelist, Mr. MANKARAN. He's a man who's a real lifesaver of all our events. And we are so glad that you are there with us. And and you have saved so many shows of ours where things were in a critical situation, like Sunburn Goa, the Cyberpunk stage. We faced the wind pressure because we didn't realize the wind pressure will go so high, and we had SCAF stability issues, and we had to stop 1 day of full work, which went out of the production schedule, and we have to face more challenges. But still, we made the SCAF structure strong, and we had a very safe show. So Man, thanks for all the support. Every time you step in without any kind of takeaway, and that's pretty awesome. So my first question to you, Man, is managing the complexity of rigging and trussing for large-scale events involves a meticulous approach to both planning and safety. Could you walk us through the critical consideration you address in your project and explain how you integrate and prioritize safety protocol to ensure secure and successful event outcomes?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for the very kind and I would say generous introduction, Imran. Thanks a ton for that. Speaking of challenges, I would say until very recently, until a few years ago, trussing and rigging used to always be the least important, you can say, thing in an event. It was always sound first, because that's exactly what artists wanted, was the sound. After that would be video, then would be light, and last would be the truss wala or jugaad wala, whatever they call it. SFX and then would be truss. So I think what's basically happened over the last couple of years is there's been a lot of training and development which has essentially happened, and that's kind of, made people understand about the importance of safety, and also not to discount the fact that there have been a lot of accidents which have been happening of late. And so I think that's the first thing. The second biggest challenge I've basically faced is, like SHIPRA rightly mentioned, is the lack of time, because what usually happens is there's not enough time for you to plan. And I believe that planning and risk assessment are very important to conduct when you do an event, because the greater is the amount of risk involved, the more is the amount of planning required. And I strongly believe that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's as simple as that. So I think what we do as a company, which is at Men at Work, is we devote and spend a lot of time towards planning and conducting a risk assessment. We usually have a risk matrix when we do an event which has a score, and then we basically look at introducing different measures, safety measures, which can try to mitigate that risk and make it. You can't necessarily do away with a risk, but then it is trying to mitigate it and trying to reduce the probability of that accident actually happening. And yeah, I mean, I strongly believe in the concept of Murphy's Law, which basically means that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So always build in a safety factor into a safety factor. It's as simple as that. The next important thing, I think, is in terms of venue selection. I think that's where a lot of event agencies basically go wrong. So I think the best example to give over here would be of U2, wherein we were tasked with basically building black steel at DY Patil. Now, DY Patil is essentially a stadium which is used, I think back then it was being used for the IPL as well. And we were given strict instructions by the venue managers and the stadium to ensure that the floor does not get damaged. So I was leading the black steel build for Stageco in India. And what basically happened then was we had over 250 tons of steel which basically came into the venue. This is steel and LED and audio and everything else put together. And to ensure that the loads were evenly dissipated, we basically used something called Potodeck, which is nothing but, you can say, ground protection mats that they have, which essentially help to dissipate the load evenly across surfaces. That's something we did. And another important factor to consider is when you work with very heavy structures, you essentially have to use a lot of material handling equipment like cranes and forklifts. So a lot of venues in our country are not geared to actually allow smooth movement of forklifts and cranes. So that's something which a lot of agencies are looking into, and I think the best example now was the Ed Sheeran tour that Charlie, myself, SHIPRA worked on recently, where we chose a venue which could handle those sorts of crowds and also permitted us to use material handling equipment. One very important consideration is that when agencies pitch for a job, a lot of them forget to consider, like, let's say I had to do something at Nesco. Many a time, we don't really consider what is the kind of load that is hanging off the structure, whether the venue structure can accommodate those loads. So I'd just like to show you a couple of pictures. We were doing something for, so I was working with Mr. EMRAN on this project. Let me just go back and see if I can come to those slides.
Yeah, so I'll just give a little gist about that project. We worked with this artist called Gaura Prema. It's Saugde, India. She worked with a lot of contemporary artists. And we have situation where we have the artist and human hanging from the ceiling points. And the venue didn't had any calculation, any data. We went with the engineer, with Samir Sawant. We did the inspection. We did the drawing for them. They didn't have the drawing. And yeah, please take it on, bro.
Correct. So this is, just like Mr. EMRAN said, this was a venue in Jaipur called the JECC, where we were supposed to hang this structure off the ceiling, and we were basically supposed to also do an aerial act along with lighting fixtures and audio as well. So we essentially created the entire model on Vectorworks. We drew everything out. We added the loads. We did a complete static calculation, as you can see, which basically helped us ascertain the point loads in the ceiling. And this is something we discussed in detail with the structural engineers at the venue. And then we came to the conclusion that the ceiling was not strong enough to accommodate that. Correct. So that is something which gave us a sense of direction to ditch the idea of basically doing aerial rigging and to actually move to a ground support. So I think that is very important. So this is what we ended up designing eventually, and this is what we ended up working with. So I think this is where working with pre-visualization softwares and also working with softwares like Braceworks and Production Assist, which actually help you do all these calculations as well. Another thing I'd just like to very quickly address is working in venues which are not necessarily suitable, which don't have good footing or good grounding for that matter. So I think, in fact, Mr. Harold, myself, and SHIPRA also did an event very recently, a couple of months ago, where we had a lot of trouble, say, working in this venue, which literally got flooded during the rain, and it became a problem for us. So I think venue selection is very important. Yes, SHIPRA?
Yeah, it was a marshland.
Yeah.
We produced a massive stage in a marshland.
Absolutely. And then we were fortunate enough that, our structures were very well engineered, which is why they were able to withstand. I'll just very quickly show you the kind of structure that we built. This is something that we did for A.R. Rahman, and it was, the structure in total was about 100 meters wide and about 15 meters high. And we had a lot of LED, which was basically, suspended off the structure. We had cantilever brackets that were manufactured in record time in less than a week, and they were installed. And we had, in total, we had about 75 tons of ballast that we added to this structure to basically weigh it down. That's something that we did. And because the place was so windy, I think that's what prompted the addition of so much of ballast. I think last but not least, I'd just like to say that I essentially wear two hats. I have my own company, like you all know, so we execute production. So there I have complete control over my crew of gear, and I can spec everything, you can say, to the last T. But what basically happens is when I work as a production consultant, I'm working with a lot of new crews as well. So I think choosing your vendor partner is absolutely essential, and to understand whether they are on the same page as you and understand the language that you speak. Yes. I think that's very essential. And yeah, just this last one point, I just want to make it very clear I'm not an engineer. I'm not a structural engineer. I used to work at an investment bank 16 years ago at Goldman Sachs. So I quit my job and I got into this business. So for people to take me seriously initially was in fact very hard, because they didn't think somebody coming from, somebody that used to manage, I used to work at GSAM, which is Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Somebody that managed somebody's portfolio could actually build structures. So I just think it's all about passion, and if you're passionate and if you're ready to learn, I mean, you can pretty much do anything that you want.
Yes, Man, you're absolutely right. And SHIPRA was supposed to be a lawyer.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody, I think music gigs also inspire you so much, and the kind of work we get to do with regards to technicals or managing the overall festival or a concert, it's quite inspiring. So yeah, even taking away the entire venue bit, we should not take, if a venue is saying, ho jayega, latka lo types, So if you remember Arm & Intense, the first heavy-duty loading on NSCI roof, at that time, Cineyog was not managing, things were not there, the data was not there. So we contacted the engineers and we went to their office, if you remember, and we took all the load calculations and so on. Cool, so my next question will be on technological innovations. What recent technological innovations have you integrated into your stagecraft practices? How have these technologies enhanced your capabilities in designing and implementing stage structures?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think the first thing that we've done as a company, and I've seen a lot of people do that in India, is introduction of softwares for inventory control, like Rentman. I think they've been phenomenal because they essentially help you track each and every piece of equipment that actually leaves your warehouse and basically comes back inside. So the way Rentman basically works is that everything is actually RFID'd, or it's on a barcode where you can scan every piece of equipment. So in case something gets damaged, you basically create a log and you automatically get notified, so that when it comes back to the warehouse, nobody accidentally sends it back to to another venue till it's actually serviced or rectified. That's one thing. The second thing for me has essentially been migrating from AutoCAD to SketchUp and then eventually to Vectorworks. So I started drawing in I think 2009. I've been drawing for the last 17 years of my life now. Is that 17? No, it's 15 years. Pardon me, my bad. So it's been 15 years since I've been drawing, and I think Vectorworks has kind of established itself as the industry standard now. I'll just show you a couple of the kind of drawings that we've been able to generate in Vectorworks. We've done fairly detailed drawings. This is something that we did for A.R. Rahman as well, and you can do a lot of detailing on Vectorworks, and it also helps us with also creating BOQs, especially of scaffold and trussing and all of that. Then the next thing for me has been the introduction of static modeling softwares, which is what I basically use for load calculations, like I just showed you a while ago. The introduction of Braceworks, and I would even say Production Assist, helps us to a certain, probably pre-visualize what complications we could perhaps maybe come across on site. I think that does not take away the importance of a structural engineer, because I always claim, even in my reports that I generate, that I'm not a structural engineer. This is something which any report or any drawing that I generate has to be verified by a structural engineer and has to be signed off. So I essentially work in conjunction with structural engineers as opposed to just being a rigging consultant, so to speak. I think, yeah, that's one innovation. The next has also been, I think, over the last couple of years, we don't have load cells, but I know for a fact that there are quite a few companies in India, especially in Bombay, that have invested in load cells. I've used load cells on gigs on site. For instance, I think the best example was the Ed Sheeran project right now, where the center halo screen, which weighed about 14.5 tons, was essentially picked up using hoists, and everything was being monitored, say, using load cells as well. I think real-time monitoring is essentially very important to ensure that you don't end up overloading structures, because, I mean, that can be catastrophic. I think another innovation that we've seen in India recently over the last 3 or 4 years has been the introduction of automation, especially you can say variable speed hoists, like you can say kinesis, or say anything else for that matter, because you have to be aware that when you work with loads or with systems that are statically indeterminate, where you have more than 2 lift points, what happens is that there could be a load shift which is essentially happening, and that's where load cells come into play, and also variable speed hoists, especially because of the fact that there is like an actuator, or let's say a very slight increase in speed. You can go from 0 to 30 very slow, as opposed to shock loading your system. So that's something which has been I think very prominent in our business over the last couple of years. Yeah.
Yes, I think the pre-visualization in all the areas has become so important, and it's really helping us. Like even the Ras Leela show for Cirque de India, because humans were getting suspended, client was pushing us to rig it, it's all fine. But we had put our foot down saying, this is the proof, this is the best load, and it's not workable. And we went with the box truss one day before the show. But at least one day before the show, and not on the day of the show and setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what a lot of people basically fail to factor into their calculations is also to factor in dynamic loads.
Correct.
That's something which a lot of people don't do. And especially working with the safety factor of 10:1 when you're flying humans, which essentially becomes still 3. So that's still a very alien concept in this part of the world, and I'm sure India is catching up, but we still have a long way to go. But I can see that things are improving, and we'll hopefully get there soon, very soon. Yeah.
Yes, Dan, you want to add something, I guess?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to do with this pre-visualization software. So I think the first time me and Imran worked was the first time I used Vectorworks, which is a software that you can see produces all of this. A few slides ago, you saw my first drawing in Vectorworks, which we had done for Buddha's Awakenings. And what we noticed, at least the 4 of us sitting in a row here, because when we work on projects, there are 0 extras required. It is so precise and so simple. We even use it to, of course, it's nowhere close to as good as a sound prediction software. But in Vectorworks, we get a rough estimate of how far the sound is going to go. So we know if we move it a little further from the artist, it is still a viable option if we don't want to cut a sight line. Or if we want to, let's say, oh, thank you for pulling up this example, whoever did it. Thank you. Yeah. So when we use Vectorworks like this, we get to see where every element is. We know exactly how far each light goes, how far the sound goes, how bright the LEDs are. So we get a complete holistic picture of everything. And this is something which everyone in the industry should kind of credit a lot of people sitting here today, because they've really pushed hard to make this the industry standard. Before this, we would just keep calling for trucks like of equipment. We would not know how many. We would just say, send one more truck until it was built. That was the logic. Even on our previous shows, like when we did Far Out and stuff, we used to just keep calling for more, like in a unmeasured quantity.
Dan's technical drawings are so precise. I remember Supersonic, where the LED was not fitting in, and he kept saying it will not fit in because my drawing says it will not fit. And my execution team was like, no, we'll do something, Jugaad will do something. He's saying it's not going to happen. And then we came with the solution, putting a truss bar to it.
So I, in fact, told one of his guys who's here right now that I'll tattoo your name on my chest if it fits. It didn't fit, luckily.
It didn't fit.
But that is the degree of confidence you get when you use this software. You know that if, for example, on the ground it was off by 200 mm here, there is no chance on planet Earth it will fit on top. So it gives you that kind of a level of confidence where you can clearly know that this is either A, going to happen, B, not happen, or C, be a disaster.
And also like the right equipment, because it was a ring lock and layers, it was so precise. But there are a lot of make of ring locks also.
Yeah.
So sometimes it goes a little off, but because of the wrong equipment coming to site.
But we've been pushing so hard to use layer scaf that it's kind of like become a standard for us. We don't even have those conversations anymore. Like earlier on, it used to be a conversation, should we use layer scaf or cup lock or ring lock? But over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, I would say that has not been a conversation anymore. pretty much the industry standard, and we don't make any errors because the precision and the knowledge of what load it takes is so clear. Like, you know that it can take this much load at this much height, and you can load it with XYZ amount of equipment. So made our life very, even for lights, if you see like the layers cap, when you use even a moving head and you kind of even swing it back and forth, it doesn't move. It's like rock solid. So even for lighting designers, it enables a kind of level of freedom that you might have not had earlier.
Yes. My next question will be on training and certification to MANKARAN, and even I think Charlie, you can step in over here because you also do some education program, I guess. No? My next question is on training and certification to MANKARAN, and you both can add in over here. Given the technical and safety intensive nature of your work, MANKARAN, how important is professional training and certification in your industry? What specific trainings have been most valuable for you and your team? This one.
So I think training is paramount. I think it's extremely important to make sure that your crew and especially the rest of the industry is also made to keep abreast of different changing safety protocols worldwide. And I've been very actively involved in say educating myself and also in imparting training over the last couple of years. I did my first rigging training in I think 2008 when I just joined the business, and after that I've done a lot of workshops, I've done a lot of trainings. But I think the change really came in 2018 when I conducted my own first training, where these are just a few examples of the kind of trainings that we conduct. We essentially conduct trainings on the right way to put up temporary structures. We have, so I'm essentially part of an organization called the ESA, which is the Event Equipment Service Providers Association. And this was essentially a team effort where we organized India's first internationally certified rigging training, which happened last year, where it was a proper 5-day workshop where people were basically also awarded certification at the end of it. This is, of course, for ground rigging, because no 5-day rigging training in the world can make you a rigger. Let me just state that as well. But it's a good, say, launchpad, so to speak. And we've got one training coming up in the month of August, which is going to be a replica of what we did last year, where we have Mr. Harold Waldock basically coming down from Belgium and doing the training for our participants. And apart from that, what we've also been doing is we've also been doing trainings for crews, different crews from different companies in the local language, not very math intensive, but very experiential, where we show people pictures, we show people examples of, how to do it right, and what is not the right way to do it. So that's something I've been very passionate about. I've been very passionate about, I think, education, because I've been very fortunate that I could do a lot of these trainings. But I think only if we get the rest of the members in the industry to elevate can we actually start demanding better. I think facilities and maybe better pay as well. I think that's very important. On to you, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a level of training that can be split into different different sort of tiers, as it were, where you've got the on-site training for your in the PA world, who's going to be putting the speakers up, right? Here's how to interpret the software. It'll tell you what is a safe load, what is not a safe load, where your center of gravity is for your loudspeakers, and it's like how do you use that data safely and effectively to so training people how to do that, how to check their work, ensure that everything has been maintained well, that it looks correct, so you can put equipment up with confidence. And then there's a level of working with perhaps rental companies and hire bodies, making decisions about, well, what rigging hardware do we use, what motor hoists do we use, educating them on the wider global sort of standards that are being promoted and upheld in other regions. And as you say, there's not one global rigging body overseeing this, but there are some industry leaders, and I think it's looking at their work, looking at their research, and trying to bring that into the market to ensure that people know how to implement safe procedures. And if you've got that data that you know that you can use equipment in a certain way safely, then actually then it feeds back into the creative side of our industry. Well, now we know we can do complex designs using and got accurate data on what motor hoist can do in terms of loads, how we're dynamically loading trussing systems, what wind loading might happen with adverse weather, then actually you can really push the creative side of the design work forward to get more interesting, more and push that design onto the next level. But it all starts from that kind of educating how to use the equipment well, how to implement standards, and certify and test and monitor your equipment using, as you say, load cells and such like.
Sure, and I'd just like to add that while we are speaking, we actually have a rigging training which is happening at Palm in hall number 2. We've got sessions happening every day at 11, at 1, at 3, and at 5. So I'd be very happy if any one of you all seated here would actually like to come and sit for one of our sessions. We've got a very diverse range of speakers. We've got Adam Beaumont from Chainmaster, who's going to be talking about hoists. We've got yours truly speaking about, say, structures. We've got Avishkar from Natura talking about aerial rigging. We've got Vaibhav speaking about power. We've got Azan speaking about SFX. And we've got Sameer Sawant speaking about, static modeling and static calculation. So we've got a lot of sessions. I'd be very happy if any one of you all would like to register and maybe attend these sessions as well.
Cool, let's do that, yeah. Do we have 5 minutes more, right? Yes, so
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll just add one more part to the training angle of it. So this is something that probably I've been talking for over 3 years now. I attended my first training with DNB. In fact, before we got the DNB speakers in 2017, I think my trainer is sitting right there over here. So that's when one thing that I realized is India, this whole market in India is first passion driven. So if you look at the owners of rental companies of any sorts, be it the audio rental company, lighting, video, SFX, like you can see MANKARAN Singh here, who has come in from finance background, a lawyer coming in. So, I mean, it's very passion driven. So when it's very passion driven, what happens is you need to learn it right so that you kind of do it right. And for that, training is very important. So this is where I always keep telling that rental company owners should get trained first when it's a rental company. So they make right decisions when it comes to the equipments they purchase. I mean, it's not an equipment purchase that's made on only pure commercial standpoint. Because I've seen a lot of times where people will go and buy speaker X because it's 50,000 rupees cheaper than speaker Y. That should not be the right way to do it. I mean, you get trained about that particular system, understand how good is that system, understand how well it can work for you as an application, and then use the application workflow that a system provider gives you, and then deploy that to your teams internally. Like, for example, in our company, I got trained way before we even purchased the speaker system. Then we had a training for the top tier engineers within the industry. Now, within our organization, now we have a weekly or a bi-weekly training session that happens to each and every employee of our organization. And we even have audit reports to make sure that, so we use something called as ArrayCalc. We have an audit report to make sure that every show is backed by an ArrayCalc file. If there is no prediction, if there is no prediction that's there as a part of your system, then there is something going wrong. So we don't work without it. So these kind of, kind of a process-driven system is very important. After you get trained, you need to apply that as a process. So that's also equally important, be it in anything, lighting, video, audio, and all of it. I mean, rigging, it's very important that you learn, deploy, audit.
Cool. So since we have some time more, right? So one last question, which I skipped for SHIPRA because of time, was the future preparations. What are your thoughts on where we are headed in future? Are there upcoming technologies or trends you are particularly excited about? And I think this future preparation goes to everybody. So if anybody want to talk about future technology or maybe AI, how it's going to change our space, our event space. Right now it's helping on conceptualizing, even stage designing. The Mid-Journey is right now creating some awesome stage design. Of course, it need to get on the practical stage when MANKARAN walks in and say, this you cannot do, this you cannot do, and so on. So yeah, Ships, over to you.
Check. I think we've all touched upon this, but just to kind of sum it up, I do think that automation and motion tracking is a very exciting direction that we're headed in. Sustainability is something that all of us should think about. And also, I mean, I think that even with initiatives across venues, with governments, it is something that people are discussing, which is great. And what I definitely think for the Indian industry, what is exciting and what is the hope is that things get more organized on site. Like, it's not chaos on site. We have offices, we have plans, we have schedules, we have inventory lists, we have dumping areas, workstations, warehouses, temporary warehouses. We are seeing it happen on large-scale events, and the hope is that it also just kind of trickles down across the country, where everyone is working in a more organized and more precise and conscious manner.
About AI? So with AI, I think we had a very deep conversation about AI, because I think I was the one who went to Imran's office one day and I was like, all of you stop doing whatever you're doing. It's all finished. It's over.
Yes.
And I introduced him to 8 or 10 AI platforms on one day.
Yes.
And I was like, you want to make presentations like this? You want to do a stage design like this? You want to plan an inventory sheet? You want to make a SOP? For every function that an event company has, there is a specific AI prompt flow or a tool with a prompt flow for that. So everything that you do can be much more effective because the AI is doing the bulk work. Then you can go through it and refine it. So if you have to do
a lot of research is still required. Your knowledge is going to feed the AI, and then you have to have a right prompt to go. Even the stage designing, I tried. I was not able to achieve. My brother is doing it now. So he's doing for films, so I'm going to learn that too also now.
So it's like, unless you know, you cannot filter the AI's results properly. But the fact that it gives you 100 to choose from is its kind of superpower. So it'll give you something that you're like, wait, I would not think of this. But now that I see it, and it's also kind of mathematically in the correct zone, it is maybe achieved. So I think I have a practical example for this. I did a, you might find this interesting, a static load calculation of so maybe I had 8 lights on a truss. So I just told the AI, I'm using this Euro truss F34 model trussing, and I have these brands, these lights. Can you calculate the load? And it actually showed the math just processing, and it gave it to me. And turned out to be within 2 kilos of the final answer. So a lot of times, even before we as designers, because a structural engineer would come in after the design is made, right? But because we don't want to wait till the structural engineer comes in and we get a little eager, we just try to make sure that we don't make a design only that will break the weight load or the safety norm or something. So a lot of the ways AI helps us is to make sure we don't reach a mistake to begin with. So it kind of makes it more efficient. And now with the software that we all use, Vectorworks, we have AI visualization. So if we just make a technical drawing and we ask it to, we prompt it to kind of, what will this stage look like with red lights? It just kind of makes it. So this is a brand new, say not even 1 month old feature that has come in. So I think AI is going to kind of be a very big step in the next, between this palm and next palm, half the stalls might be replaced by AI stalls. For example.
Yeah, I mean, we experimented with Absolute Stage at Sunburn Goa, and we conceptualized the entire stage with AI because they have a very inclusive LGBT and equality, that kind of a concept. And even the visuals, Absolute is doing this elsewhere gig where they are using AI to create avatars in Indo-futurism space and use it in the visual, in a live scenario. So that is also pretty cool. So Yeah, way to go with AI. And with this note, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for participating. It was a great insight, great knowledge sharing with all of you, and I look forward to work with you and do more Palm Expo seminars in the future. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Man. Thank you, Beckett. Thank you, Ships. Dan, Sachit. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us.
To all of you.
Everything went off?